comedian. I hope that you'll find tonight's meeting both entertaining and informative. Again, thanks for attending. First, I'd like to introduce my fellow council members. Well, first of all, I'm John Capocha, Mayor Pro Tem. But I'd like to introduce my fellow city council members that are in attendance. Rochelle Arizmendi, Denise Delmar, and Jean Goss. I'd also like to recognize a few of our city leadership team who work so hard every day to serve you, the tax-paying citizens of Sierra Madre. We have City Manager Elaine Aguilar, our Public Safety Chief Larry Giannoni, Fire Chief Steve Haydorf, there he is, okay. Police Captain Carlos Islas, our Public Works Director Bruce Inman, and our Library Director Carolyn Thomas. Also, we have in attendance Mr. Tom Love, who is our elected representative to the San Gabriel Valley Municipal Water District. Thanks for coming. Okay, thank you all. Now it is my pleasure to introduce the Daisy and Brownie Troop 15161 and Junior Cadet Troop 5361, who will lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Ladies and gentlemen, please stand for the presentation of our flags. Girl Scouts, attention. Color Guard, advance. Color Guard, post the colors. Color Guard, honor your colors. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Girl Scouts dismissed.
Okay, thank you, Girl Scouts. Everybody, please be seated. Now I'm going to introduce a special treat. We are thrilled to have with us this evening the St. Rita Choir. St. Rita School has been an integral part of the Sierra Madre community for nearly a century. The choir, under the direction of Mr. Joseph Augustiniski, I hope I said that right, I probably butchered it, performs at Sunday Mass and at many school special events. They have also performed at Our Lady of the Angels Cathedral in Los Angeles and at La Salle High School. This is their first performance for the city of Sierra Madre, and it is truly an honor for them to be here for this event. Please join me in giving them a warm welcome.
least I know I'm free. And I won't forget the men who died, who gave their right to me. And I gladly stand up next to you and defend her still today. 'Cause there ain't no doubt I love this land. God bless the USA. From the lakes of Minnesota to the hills of Tennessee, across the plains of Texas, from sea to shining sea, from Detroit down to Houston and New York to LA, there is pride in every American heart, and it's time we stand and say, and I'm proud to be an American, where at least I know I'm free. And I won't forget the men who died, who gave their right to me. And I gladly stand up next to you and defend you still today. 'Cause there ain't no doubt I love this land. God bless the USA.
That was very inspiring. Why don't we go ahead and just give them a nice, healthy round of applause as they exit. Thank you very much, St. Rita's Choir. Oh, you're going to move it? Okay.
We'll move it over a little bit. Yeah, they're gonna move the vitamins and we'll slide it over. Yeah, they're gonna put it in the middle. I just don't want it to block. I forgot about that.
It's fine. Let's leave. Okay, now we're at the part, this is the business part of the meeting, where Mayor Harabedian is going to elaborate on the state of our wonderful village of the foothills. But first, let me take a few minutes to tell you a little bit about our mayor. For those of you that attend or watch our city council meetings, I'm sure you'll agree with me that Mayor Harabedian has done a fantastic job. You've all witnessed his ability to run a meeting, to debate the issues from a well-prepared and thoughtful point of view, his ability to bring out the best of his peers on the council, and most of all, his patience and understanding of what's really important here in Sierra Madre, which is his ability to bring out the best in our citizens by allowing them to speak their minds while at the same time running an orderly and efficient meeting. Because Mayor Harabedian is truly interested in hearing what everyone has to say, he handles this challenging task with skill, empathy, and intense interest. For this, Mayor Harabedian should be commended and thanked. He is wise beyond his years and serves as a great example to all of us. John was born and raised right here in Sierra Madre, attended Sierra Madre Elementary and St. Rita Elementary. John will tell you that some of his fondest memories growing up here were playing Little League and Pony Baseball at Heasley and Dapper Fields, and basically living in idyllic childhood, which is part of his motivation to preserve the best of Sierra Madre for the current and future generations. John graduated from Loyola High School, then went on to earn his bachelor's at Yale University. Upon graduation, he briefly worked as an investment banker, which really wasn't to his taste, or liking before resuming his academic study at Oxford University, where he earned a master's in comparative social policy. He was then accepted to the highly selective Coro Fellowship Program, which is designed to train and mentor the next generation of public leaders. From there, he went on to Stanford Law School, where he earned his law degree. He now practices law at the highly respected international firm Lathan & Watkins in downtown LA. John and his wife, Young G, of course, live here in Sierra Madre in the home that they recently purchased. And on July 2nd of last year, they were blessed with a beautiful, healthy baby boy, future Mayor John Dae-Yang. So now, please join me in a warm welcome for Mayor John Harabedian. There's a water bottle for you right there.
Well, that was really too nice from the Mayor Pro Tem. You know, Mayor Pro Tem is literally my right-hand man on the City Council, and I've really enjoyed serving with him for the last 3 years and learned so much from him. And to have him give that introduction means a lot. So thank you very much. I'm not sure half of it was true, but and for those at home, we have a packed house here. I'm kidding, but the state of the city, it always happens. The parents of the kids that sing always leave, and no one can blame them. So good evening, everyone. Thank you very much for coming. Mayor Pro Tem already recognized my colleagues, but again, I would like to recognize the fellow council members here today, all of our staff. Thank you very much for coming. It's been my honor to serve as your mayor this past year and as a council member for the past 3 years. It has been one of the most fulfilling and educational experiences of my life. As many of you know, and as our Mayor Pro Tem just said, I was born and raised in Sierra Madre, and it is the only place that I've ever called home. Growing up here, I remember many things vividly. Our city clerk, Nancy Schollenberger, welcome. I remember many things vividly, but most of all, I remember a feeling that the perils of the outside world seemed unable to penetrate the borders of this town. It was a feeling of safety, tradition, and community. I serve on the City Council because I want to ensure that such feeling of safety, tradition, and community remain strong here. Over the past year, we have taken great strides and made many tough decisions to achieve that goal. Many people ask what the purpose of the state of the city is. I don't think there's necessarily a right answer. To me, the state of the city is about having the opportunity for the city, through the mayor that year, to communicate directly with you, the residents, about what we've accomplished over the past year, but more importantly, to discuss the challenges and the opportunities that we have in the year ahead of us. So let's first talk briefly about some of our accomplishments. First, we continue to operate a balanced budget. This past year, because of sound fiscal policies, we even benefited from a surplus, which allowed us to increase our reserves, which we should all be very proud of. However, that surplus did not come without a cost. We have cut or not filled the equivalent of 5 full-time equivalents over the past year and have taken steps to reduce services in order to balance our budget. We've also set aside funds for emergencies, and we've begun to prepare for the reduction in our city's utility users tax, which will be sunsetting shortly. I am proud that the council began to reduce expenditures last year and this year before the UUT rate decreases. We could have waited until the financial hit of the reductions happened in July 2015 and 2016, but we decided to make the tough choice to start cutting now. To me, that is sound fiscal planning for the future, and we should be very proud for our current fiscal health. Second, we have taken aggressive measures to respond to the statewide drought and water shortage, which has acutely, as you know, affected Sierra Madre over the past couple years. In July 2013, we began implementing mandatory conservation efforts through our conservation ordinance. Over the past year, however, we've increased conservation targets, implemented a building moratorium to ensure that there are no new water hookups for development, and instituted a turf removal program to incentivize residents to replace those thirsty lawns, and recently imposed monetary penalties from the state for improper watering. As of July, we will also enforce penalties in our conservation ordinance that we have kept at bay for the past year and a half. I view this as a proud accomplishment, I really do, because the community has rallied around this issue. We have over 75% of our residents meeting their conservation targets. We have an average of a monthly reduction of 30% year over year. And as a result, our water levels continue to rise in our wells. I'm very proud to say that we have been a model community when it comes to water conservation. But it is about time that our neighbors especially those with whom we share a water source, get serious about this issue as well. This is a regional and statewide collective action problem. Before you know it, every city will be struggling to deliver potable water to their residents. Sierra Madre, however, will continue to lead proudly the charge on this effort. Third, we successfully reorganized our staff and reopened City Hall. In short, we adjusted salaries and capped benefits of our management employees, which will lead to savings in our budget over the next few years. We also reopened City Hall to its normal business hours. This was not easy. It required a further reduction in staff and increased workloads throughout City Hall. But our staff, as usual, responded tremendously as always. I'd like to particularly thank Council members Denise Delmar and Rochelle Arizmendi for serving on the subcommittee, which brought that plan forward to the council. It was not easy, took a lot of time, and I think we all tapped out and made sure that you two were the last one standing. So thank you very much. Fourth, each of our departments has accomplished much to be proud of over this past year. Our public safety presence has been outstanding. As you all know, our fire department and paramedics have continued to respond to numerous calls a day with excellent response times on a very modest budget. Our firefighters and paramedics responded to nearly 900 calls this year, 34 of which were fires. The average response time was 4 minutes and 44 seconds, which is outstanding. Our police department has continued to operate as a model department in the San Gabriel Valley. They too have responded to many calls, 4,300 over the past year, and 2,400 of those being priority 1 calls, which means they were the highest priority calls. They did this with an outstanding response time that remains the envy of police departments throughout our valley. 3 minutes and 31 seconds for priority 1 calls, and 4 minutes and 13 seconds for priority 2 calls. To give you some perspective, the average response time in the county is 6 to 8 minutes, so we should be very proud of those response times. As a result of our police department's diligent work, our burglary rate has dropped 56% from last year, which should make us all sleep better at night. Our Public Works Department has continued maintaining our city. A few of the notable projects we completed are in the process of completing are the street replacement on Michelinda, the one that you've all seen on East Sierra Madre Boulevard, the approval and beginning of implementation of our sidewalk master plan, the Mountain Trail water main replacement, our drought-tolerant landscaping at City Hall, which all of you should hopefully buy a unique brick to put in that drought-tolerant landscaping. It'll help us defer the costs, and your name will be there forever. So if I can entice you to do that, please. We are currently raising money for that landscaping project. And we've also planted 69 trees that were torn down during the recent windstorm. This, of course, along with managing our various water challenges throughout the city. Our library continues to service 265 customers a day through 300 programs annually. Our library board successfully completed a strategic plan, and our library staff also secured grant funding to purchase and install interactive digital storyboards in the library and the Richardson House. These storyboards, if you haven't seen them, allow customers to explore Sierra Madre's stories and treasures, and they're pretty outstanding. In connection with this, the library has also instituted a teen docent program, which has 36 teen volunteers so far. Our community service department has continued to provide valuable and needed outlets for our entire town, especially our youth and seniors. The senior master plan is being updated as we speak by the Senior Commission, and the Senior Commission has also funded an addition to the Hart Park House for storage. As usual, we had a year full of fabulous events with the help of our chamber. The Wisteria Festival, which is coming up this Sunday, but last year's was great. And also the Mount Wilson Trail Race, which was started in 1908, was a great event last year, and it's going to be a great event again this year. Last but not least, our Planning and Community Preservation Department has been quite busy this past year, as everyone knows. Not only have they helped lead the charge in implementing our building moratorium, but they have ushered the new general plan update at 7 o'clock on the dot. That's our chief. Every meeting at 7 o'clock, the alarm goes off. It makes us feel safe. But they've also ushered the new general plan update to the finish line, which is almost there, which we should all be proud of. Last month, the City Council, with the help of our planning department, instituted a temporary demolition moratorium to protect our historic homes from being torn down. This was a very important step for our city to remain who we are, and that is a unique valley with much history that we want to preserve. I would like to thank all of our planning staff and our staff throughout the city for all their hard work this past year. Lastly, the last accomplishment I'd like to note is something I'm particularly proud of, and that is the way in which this City Council has conducted our business over the past year. Every council member has made it their #1 priority to represent our constituents above all else. This has led to a professional working relationship between us all that has fostered consensus week in and week out. Even when we have disagreed, we have done it with grace and humility, and we are always able to smile and remain cordial. That is not easy with 3 brand new council members and 2 council members who had just 2 years of experience when the 3 new ones joined us. I would just like to applaud my colleagues, and I would like all of you to give them a round of applause for all the hard work that they've done this year. But enough with the accomplishments. It's easy to pat yourself on the back, and it is good to be proud of these accomplishments, but we have many challenges going forward. These are challenges that my colleagues and I are ready to face head on, and I am confident that we will handle them swiftly and appropriately. The 3 main challenges that we face as a city are: 1, our continued water quality and source of water; 2, our development-related pressures that we see on a daily basis; and 3, our budget going forward. First, our water quality and our water source. We have heard from many of you over the year that the quality of water is lacking, and that since we started importing water, you folks can tell that this isn't Sierra Madre water. There is no doubt about that. We are accustomed to drinking the best water in the county from our taps, and now people are finding themselves running to the store, buying expensive filters, and signing up for Arrowhead and Sparklet accounts just to drink their water. I assure you, though, that we are making progress. With the help of our staff and our hired water expert, as many of you know and probably have witnessed, the discoloration has largely subsided. We are working expeditiously to eliminate it altogether, but it will take a little bit of time. As we all know, though, the only real way to solve the problem is to get back to relying on our own aquifer for our own water. We need to stop importing water. Simple as that. It's not only more expensive, but it's just not what we're used to drinking. And the only way in which we're going to be able to do that is through continued conservation, which is why all of your efforts are so important. Sierra Madre is really tied to our water source historically. It is ingrained in our DNA from the very beginning of this town with Lucky Baldwin and Nathaniel Carter. Therefore, we as a council and as a staff are going to continue aggressively approaching this issue and won't stop until we're back drinking Sierra Madre water. Development and land use. We have taken important steps with the recent demolition moratorium to show that we are serious about preserving this town. We are not some of our neighboring cities. We will not allow beautiful homes, which represent the visual fabric and history of this community, fall victim to overdevelopment. While we will continue to respect property rights, we will also want to ensure that what we are doing is everything in our power to protect our historic homes. Our soon-to-be-passed revised demolition ordinance is an important first step in that process. But there are other things that we will be considering doing as well. We will be considering changes to our R1 zoning codes, which our Planning Commission has been wrestling with diligently for the past few months. The enactment of the revised general plan, of course, will help as well. Essentially, what we will be deciding as a council is how best to protect this community from overdevelopment through the use of smart, sensible zoning codes that will ultimately protect our historic homes and the town as we know it. While this is popular with some, we know it is unpopular with others. I respect and understand both perspectives. However, what we do as a council is not always popular. Being popular is not necessarily our job. And I hope we never make decisions based on whether we are loved or liked for that decision. I don't think we do that. I think what we have been doing and will continue to do is making the right and prudent decisions for the community as a whole as your fiduciaries. The goal is simply to keep Sierra Madre, Sierra Madre. That is, to ensure that long after we're gone, the next generations get to continue to enjoy this little piece of heaven that we call home. And that starts with our planning. Finally, and most importantly, our budget. This, to me, is the most important challenge that we will face in the upcoming year. We are all aware that, starting in July of this year, the utility users tax will decrease from 10% to 8%, and the following year it will go from 8% to 6%. That will result in approximately $1 million lost of revenue here, and that is about 12% of our general fund. There is no doubt that that will have a material impact on our budget and our ability, more importantly, to deliver services to this community. As you can see, It's okay. We can't see, and I'm just going to explain it. As you can see, we are projected to have a deficit in 2016 of $230,000. In 2017, that increases to $730,000. These are very large numbers, and they're significant. $230,000 is almost the entire budget for our community services department. $730,000 is essentially a substantial portion of our fire department. In other words, based on our projected loss of revenue, we are faced with very difficult choices. The reality is, if we are unable to replace these lost UUT revenues, we will be forced to cut services substantially. You have heard this before. This is not new. We have already been forced to outsource the operation of our community pool and the programs at our youth activity center. But the time when we likely lose something else is quickly approaching. That something else could be our police department, our fire department, our library, or any other department that you could name. The reality, and it's a harsh reality, is that we will not be able to operate as a full-service city after losing 12% of our general fund budget. It's just really not possible. The way I see it, we have two basic choices. The first option is we as a community implement an acceptable revenue alternative, whether that be a UUT at 8%, 9%, or even 7%. Or we can think about a parcel tax, possibly a parcel tax to support our library, which I think would have a lot of support, or something else that the community comes forward with. We need residents to start thinking creatively and proposing ideas for this. We as a council, of course, will have our own ideas, but community buy-in is essential here. The second option, of course, is that over the next 6 months, we decide what is expendable, and we begin implementing steps to outsource a department or cut programs until we have a balanced budget. The third alternative, which would be to operate in a deficit and burn through our reserves, is frankly not an option. It's not an option for me, and I know it's not an option for my colleagues. In order to facilitate this process, we will begin in the next few months a series of town hall, community, and online meetings to discuss the budget and our path forward. My personal view, as your mayor and resident, is that we find a workable solution on the revenue side so that we don't have to lose any of our precious services. For example, I would be in favor of discussing a UUT at a rate lower than 10%, but higher than 6%. Again, whether that's 7%, 8%, 9%, whatever it takes. And again, I would also be in favor of this community rallying around a library parcel tax. I do not want to cut one of our departments or any of our programs. I especially do not want to see any of our public safety services put at risk. To me, and I've said it before, the most important thing we do as a city is keeping you guys safe. As long as I'm on the city council, and I'm sure my colleagues would agree, we will not want to do anything to jeopardize that. We have had a movement that has arose in our town over the past year, and it was spearheaded by an organization, and still is, called Preserve Sierra Madre. It is a movement that is founded on the idea that we should preserve this town that we love so much, an idea that has been alive and well for a long time. In fact, I have no doubt that everyone in this town wants to preserve Sierra Madre and lives here because we love it, and we want it to stay the same. I applaud Preserve Sierra Madre for their efforts and anyone who supports what they are doing. However, I want to remind and challenge every person who supports Preserve Sierra Madre's efforts and those who support it to realize that preserving Sierra Madre goes well beyond protecting the physical structures within this city. It requires a commitment to preserve our way of life and the community that we've built over the past 107 years. I challenge each member of the community that comes to city council meetings to implore us as your city council to preserve Sierra Madre by protecting our homes, to also come to our meetings and implore us to preserve Sierra Madre by protecting our services as well. The two go hand in hand, in my opinion. Without police officers protecting us from burglaries or firefighters protecting us from catastrophic injury, what good is it to live in a historic home with a view of the hillsides? Without being able to provide our children or seniors with social outlets through our community centers or library, what good is it to have a general plan that supposedly protects our way of life? The people of Sierra Madre, more so than the homes or the hillsides themselves, are the backbone and fabric of this community. We cannot forget to protect them and preserve the quality of life we have come to know and love. I am confident that whatever happens, the team we have behind the dais and the team we have in City Hall will solve this problem working together. There is not a problem too big or complex that we as a council cannot handle. Nor is there a solution to any of the problems that we will face that our staff will not be able to implement. The buck will always stop with the city council, and I don't think I or any of my colleagues will have it any other way. That is why you elected us, to make the tough decisions for you, which we will continue doing with your input. We will continue earning your trust with everything that we do. We will continue making you proud to live in Sierra Madre, our village of the foothills that is unlike any other. And we will continue to fight to preserve the quality of life that we have in this town, one that is based on safety, tradition, and community. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. And I would just like to quickly make a few more acknowledgments. I'd like to thank Southern California Edison for their sponsorship of this event. And we have representatives in the back for this. Thank you very much. And we will be hosting a reception after, and I believe it is right here in City Hall, if I'm not, is it right in here? Thank you. Thank you everyone for coming.